Now, I got to ask you, what do you feel that he would want the fans to remember most about him?
He got heat just by walking in the room, just by being him. He didn't have to work real hard at it. Just his presence brought heat to him, and he rode it like a freight train. But the one thing that I'll never forget is, regardless of how much heat he had, he was always like somebody's grandfather. He had that kind touch about him and respect. We lost a good one when we lost him. He had a heart and actually looked after the boys, and he didn't let his ego override his intent. So it's always nice to have him around, because he would take somebody under his shoulder, under his wing, and pull them aside and smarten them up a little bit and help them come along, like he actually gave a damn, because I think he really did. I think he really looked out for the young talent, not because he wanted to check out the young talent, just because he had a heart that way. We took care of them and smartened them up, helped them protect themselves. And I got to ask you guys a question. Since you're in the know, and the only know I'm into is don't step in the dog do. But, I got a text, a mysterious text, and I don't know who the heck sent to me, but did Linda Vachon pass this morning?
Yes, actually, she did as well.
Oh, he died.
And Tough Tony Bourne also passed.
Oh, Lord. Oh. Guys, this is a rough one, boys.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Now, if you were to write a book about Akbar's life, what would the title be?
I got a feeling you don't. Not a real catchy title, but everything. He rubbed in the fact that he had the oil that we needed. And he very well, and he filled houses all over the tri-state area, all over Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Missouri. Whoever he managed went straight to the top, because he had the knowledge and the funds and the wisdom and the charisma to take them there. All they had to do was just shut up and listen, which is the fact with a lot of people. They'd do a whole lot better if they would just shut up, get over themselves, and go on about their business and listen to someone who knows what they're talking about. The reason they call it something I figured out a while back is they call it old school. You know why they call it old school?
Why is that?
Because it was good enough to get old, to last that long.
That's a good answer.
Now, you know what? It's amazing the things that cross your mind when you're indulging in a little pacalolo here and there.
Now, my co-host Andrew Karluk has a few questions for you, so go ahead, Andrew.
Hey, Bart. What kind of an impact do you think Ak would left on the people around him in the business?
Just his touch and his gentleness and his friendship, because he was a very friendly gentleman. And when he took someone under his wing, he took them under his wing, and he was also a friend to them. It wasn't just a business proposition or a performance. It was the real deal.
Okay. Now, what do you feel is Ak's true passion in life outside of the wrestling business?
I would have to say that to settle down and live a good life, which I'm sure he did. He was still managing when he went down, and he was still commanding a decent wage. He wasn't commanding, but he deserved it. When he showed up to perform, showed up to do his job, and no one had to explain anything to him. He didn't have an ego about him. He knew who he was. He knew where he was on the food chain. He knew his shit stunk. Sorry, boys. He knew it, but he didn't try and hide it or walk around it. He came and he performed. He did his job, took care of his boys. Because when he was managing someone, he literally took them aside because he'd be on the road with them. Because when you're managing someone or someone's managing you, they literally almost take up residence with you because they're the first person you talk to in the morning, the last person you talk to at night. But you become to depend on each other and always have someone who has your back. Because anybody ever heard of the Tennessee handshake?
Yeah.
You gotta watch out for the Tennessee handshake. For those that don't, it's where they shake your hand in the front, and with the other hand stab you in the back. But that's just that's kind of a coarse way of looking at it, but it's still there. Especially when people believe that they're more to them than they are to the business. Because you always got to know, there's a saying that I learned when I first started was, you can work the people, work the promoter, work the boys, but just don't work yourself. So don't lie to yourself. Be honest with yourself and know where you're at in life and where you belong on the food chain. So that's just some, I guess, old school or old timer religion. Just because I refer to it as an old timer or being old school. What we call old school, it's the kind that works. That's me. I show up. I'm gonna fight. Whatever it takes. I'm gonna give you your $10 worth.
Yeah, just from what we saw.
Listen, boys, is there anything else I can do? You want me to take out the trash or something while I'm here?
Andrew, you got any more questions?
No, I think that's everything. Thanks so much for your time, Bart.
Well, no, thank you. It's a pleasure to be back. I've had some time off. So it's nice to be back in the saddle. And I can't think of any place good than here. So we'll all have a good time. And we'll be back here. Are we weekly? Are we daily? Semi-weekly?
We are weekly.
Then we'll be back at this same time, same back channel. Don't miss it, folks. Be a part of it. If you don't get involved in it, you can't talk about it. So you know what you're talking about when you're talking. So, I got to go.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, that was Bart Sawyer here on the Skandor Akbar Tribute Show, and sharing some of his personal memories of Skandor Akbar. Now, after World Class, a new organization opened up in the Texas area called Global Wrestling Federation, and just like World Class, they operated their shows out of the Sportatorium, even though at the time it was called the Global Dome. Now, one of the good things about Global is there was a lot of names there that were available, that were around, and Skandor Akbar was a huge part of that. He was doing a lot of, mentoring and coaching for a lot of these young guys. Just a few of the names that were there is Scott Anthony, better known as Raven, Marcus Buff Bagwell from WCW, Cactus Jack, Barry Horowitz was there early in his career, John Hawk, who later became known as JBL. Jerry Lynn, Sean Waltman, a lot of those guys were getting started in Global, and they had a resource like Skandor Akbar to kind of learn from and go off of. There was one of the stables there was called the Cartel, although Skandor really had nothing to do with it. But Also while during the global days, they ran a show of, it was a tribute show for Kerry Von Erich. The post of like Kerry Von Erich committing suicide. Now that show actually had the very last match between the Freebirds and the Von Erichs. Chris Adams was the honorary Von Erich for this match. He wore Kerry Von Erich's ring jacket, and he teamed with Kevin Von Erich and Fritz Von Erich was in their corner against Michael Hayes and Buddy Roberts. Skandor Akbar was in their corner. The match ended with Kevin Von Erich. He applied the claw and Buddy Roberts for the win. But at the same time, outside of the ring, Fritz Von Erich was putting the claw on Skandor Akbar. Which is just kind of a neat little thing to happen there to kind of let everything go full circle. Where we were talking about earlier, where the Freebirds kind of led off to the Devastation Incorporated and all those guys, and it just kind of went full circle where he was in the corner of the Freebirds there. At one point there in Global, Skandor Akbar actually managed Kevin Von Erich as the babyface. That of course didn't last long. Do you remember ever watching any of that as when you were younger, Missionary? Because I remember the Global shows where they were on ESPN.
Yeah, no, I did actually watch them. It used to come on right before Windy City Pro Wrestling, and they would have it on CAN-TV. They would actually have a lot of. It wouldn't come on ESPN. It would come on CAN-TV over here, and they would actually have a lot of just great matches. And it wasn't so much the whole shows. What they would do is they would actually just compile a bunch of matches and put them together. So it's kind of like you got a best of every week. Way before WWE 24/7 even existed. And you'd sit there and watch everything from like the Texas Hangman and early days of One Man Gang and Woman and Benoit and just so many different matches that they had in there. It was actually a lot of fun. That's pretty much how it was presented to us.
And I remember like 3-4 years later, ESPN didn't have a lot of shows to film on there, but they had a few. So I mean, you're looking 3-4 years later, they were still showing them. So here you were, guys like Steve Austin, you were watching him in 1995, but you were watching him from 1991. You were watching him right before he went into WCW. And here you are watching him, right as he was going into ECW, getting ready to go into WWF. And, you see all these guys that, had gone on and gone forth since that time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember watching, everything from like Young Rockers or Midnight Express, I mean, you just got to see pretty much everybody on these shows. It was actually a lot of fun, and I do kind of miss it. I kind of miss the fact that mainstream sports channels and mainstream TV doesn't, pretty much promote wrestling like it once did, and it should. There's still so much. I mean, even if people don't like the product today, that doesn't mean that the product yesterday was bad. The product yesterday was still brilliant. Even the product today is brilliant. It's just, I wish they would actually do more like that, because there were just so many people that gave so much of their lives and their passion, for the industry, that you would expect that, there would be more of a call, more of a rise to arms from fans and just from even casual fans saying, hey, what happened to the old days of the AWA and the NWA? Why isn't this on TV more? I mean, they can sit there and repeat I Love Lucy till, we're blue in our face, and then, but, when it comes to, good stuff like wrestling, from our grandfathers and our dads' years and stuff like that, we don't get to see that too much anymore,
Yeah, we're, like ESPN at this point, they're still, like, late night. They're still replaying their old AWA shows, and they're replaying their old UWF shows, which they do have sometimes have some Akbar footage there. But I myself, I would really love to be seeing the old Global shows.